Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson, and this is the 191st episode of our program. Woo! I am so thrilled. How did we get to episode 191? Well, it's all about you, our community members like yourself around the world. I'm fortunate now as we've grown our show and it's continued to be an incredible success by any metric. We have community members around the world. And like I said, I'm able to observe the data and see different community members in Europe and in Asia and South America and in North America and Australia. And I'm so indebted to you. Episode 191 is a really interesting show for several reasons. One, it's one of the few programs that we've done that initially was created as part of one series, and then as we worked through the show development and creating the program, we realized that it actually was part of a different series. So what am I saying? Okay, so this episode's specific topic is be easy to work with. Be easy to work with. Okay, so that's our topic, our big picture topic. Be easy to work with. And so initially when we were storyboarding and coming up with the show outline, it looked like it was a part of the Joyful Art of Business series. And that's our series where we talk about broadly how when we approach our work, our professional endeavors, whether they're paid or volunteer, that we're going to do them with our unique individual artistic talents, and that we're going to always monitor our emotional and psychological response to ensure that it's overall more of a positive experience than a negative one. And we just call that joy, right? So practicing the joyful art of business. But as we started, like I said, working through the content, there was a realization that, wait a minute, what we're really talking about specifically is the idea that if you're not easy to work with, that there are going to be very serious financial negative ramifications. And so it turned out that this topic really belonged in our financial fierceness series. So that's what you see. You'll see on the program and in our show notes and our website, this is part of financial fierceness. Financial fierceness is where we're talking about money. M-O-N-E-Y. Money, money, money. Okay. So what we're doing, of course, our finances is just another part of our overall holistic evaluation of our lives. And just like we monitor our health, we monitor our emotional and psychological well-being, we should have some understanding of however we define our finances. It's just management of our resources to ensure that we have very low stress around our resources. In other words, that you're not in a situation where, oh my goodness, I can't pay my bills, or I'm in a job that I hate and despise, but I have to have money and I feel stuck. We're avoiding all of that. So in our financial fierceness series, of course, when we were looking at this specific show, right, be easy to work with, we added on the rest of this show title now, which is or be broke, right? So our current show topic today for episode 191 of Solutions with Courtney Anderson is be easy to work with or be broke. And it is part of the financial fierceness series because again, and this happens rarely, but we were working through the specific show and realized this really is talking more to the financial ramifications and the negative outcomes than it is to just the other aspects of being easy, which we talk about in other programs, right? Where we talk about the benefits to you being of service to other people, right? Be kind and be generous, be empathetic, be open, be considerate, be a giver. So we talk about that already, and we have other programs about that. The thing is with this show, what it was really coming down to, I think, in a lot of ways was I was reflecting back on seminars and programs and speeches and corporate education training programs I've done and motivating people to think about and take responsibility for their choices. Because if you have an issue with money, right, and often the issue with money is people say, well, I don't have enough, right? Then my argument has been for many, many years that you need to make it easy for people to give you money. And So that's what this program is. And it amazes me, and I really do mean this, that people put obstacles between themselves and getting money. So what exactly are we discussing? What kind of obstacles am I referencing? What am I talking about? What's going on? All right, so again, this is our episode 191. This is Be Easy to Work With or Be Broke. This is part of our Financial Fierceness series, and I always mention in every program, go to CourtneyAnderson.com. It's our main website. It's where we are, and I mean furiously, building out our infrastructure. So we have our central blog where we'll have all of these audio talk shows. We also have a companion video talk show. So this is sort of our radio talk show. It's not sort of, but it is talk show / podcast. And then we have a television talk show / podcast. And we have articles, and then I have blog postings just sort of about different musings and things in life. So all of that's on the blog. And then for every individual show, of course, this is episode 191, there is a specific page on our website that's devoted just to the show, where they're going to be the expanded and total show notes, links. It's also the page where I'll go back over time and I'll add and update extra information. It also is the page where we have any companions. So if there's a television show that is somewhat related, or even a speech that I've done, we'll put clips and links to those on that page. I do encourage you to go to the sites. We, of course, have our awesome, and I do mean awesome, because that's part of how we've been able to expand our infrastructure to serve you, our show sponsors. So you're going to see different ads and links. Please, and I really do mean this, please consider those. So if you see something you think, oh, I totally wanted to check out maybe that good or service or buy one of those, please click on that through our page so that our show sponsors will know that you came from us, from our program. All right, we're talking about money. I was just asking, of course, for you to consider that this is our business and our infrastructure. One of the ways that we are able to continue to keep all of the resources updated and available for you is through financial support of our show sponsors and other arrangements that we enter into to continue to grow this business. It's the same thing for you. And I talked about in many of our other programs the fact that if you don't see yourself as an originator of revenue, then you're being really unrealistic. And when I said originator, it's really important, because so much when we talk about financial fierceness, people say to me, hey, look, I don't have control over money. I have a job. I go to the job. The people pay me whatever. What can I do? I ask for a raise. Other than that, what am I supposed to do? And my point simply is that is a very limited and a narrow view. And that puts the person in this perspective where they perceive themselves as just a receiver, right? That they don't originate revenue. All they do is receive it. They sort of try to find other sources. The source originates the revenue, and then they just ask for whatever that source will dole out to them. And my point is that that's part of what we do, right? We may have an individual employer, an individual client, or an individual corporate sponsor that we work with, but that's not the only entity that we look at for our entire life. And if we do enter into a relationship that's exclusive with one primary revenue source, or even sole revenue source, what we want to do is reevaluate the relationship. If it's not working, meaning you feel like you don't make enough money, then that means that relationship is not going to be sufficient. And we've done. And there's there's links, and you can search our site. But we've done a program about many programs about being diversified, right? And one of the things that like I said, that I've been shocked by, and I really do mean this, I have openly, notoriously, identified myself as someone who enjoys the study and the practice of business. Now, some of you are thinking, well, yeah, I mean, you obviously went to school, you have, degrees in business, and you have owned businesses, and you currently consult with businesses and help some of the most successful businesses in the world continue to take their organization to the higher level. So yeah, you're a professor of business, right? You teach graduate business students. So what's the secret? My point though is that of course that's not something that many people personally share, right? Like I when I say that, I'm not being funny. I'm being really quite serious. And I've had discussions with people who don't at all view business as something that's a positive necessarily, or something that's important to them. And so I'm not uh being facetious when I say this. I mean, I've had some really, heated, awesomely intriguing debates and intellectual discussions about these types of things. So, but what I'm saying is I have a point of view. Now, of course, that point of view may change, and I'm open, and I hope that my mind and my life continues to create new opportunities for me to learn new things. But my point of view at the moment of this program, and has been, that's why I said in the past, I've openly said this, is that I'm focused on originating revenue as a business owner, as an employee, as a business partner, as just a person. Because the more resources I have, then the more I'm able to move towards and or sustain my financial independence, which gives me options, right? We've talked about this in other programs in this financial fierceness series. Financial independence is where you get to that point where I have enough money and enough diversified assets that I have options. So if something breaks, uh-oh, the air conditioner broke. Okay, well, it's a pain, to find somebody to come fix it, or to, whatever, or to see if I have to buy a new one. It's inconvenient. By pain, I mean it takes time, and now I'm distracted. I can't do something else I wanted to do because I'm having to deal with this. But I have the resources to pay for it. That's a lot different of a situation than someone who something breaks and they don't have the resources. And in many people's lives, because they're not yet financially independent, if one thing breaks, it's a domino effect. So if their car breaks down and they can't get to work, then they're, may lose their job. And it's just, they lose their job, they can't pay their rent. Now they lose their, they're evicted. It just spirals, and everything spirals really quickly because there's no cushion. There's no financial cushion for them to be able to say, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll have to go online and log into this other account and move some of that money or whatever. And like I said, that does take time. It's a bit of an inconvenience maybe, but that's not the same as I don't have the money. And when someone doesn't have it and they're desperate, right? They're like, my goodness, if I can't get the money to repair my car or to be able to buy, bus fare, and I can't get to work, I'm gonna be evicted, and it just spirals. People get really desperate, and that's where they're susceptible, to high interest loans and really poor business decisions. So what we want to do in our financial fierceness series, of course, is focusing on financial independence. The idea that you yourself independently have the resources. Now they're distributed. Some of them you may have to log in or to your account, or make a request. You can move the money from one place to another, but you have resources, and you want to have lots of different resources. Worst case scenario, if everything falls apart, you need to have other stuff that you can either sell, maybe it's a security, or maybe it's a rental property, but you need to have layers of resources that you can access and have, sort of a backup plan to your backup plan. And that's what we're trying to do with financial independence, is then get to the point where we continue to maintain that. This show about being easy to work with is everything. Now, what do I mean by that? How many times have you gone as just a regular customer out into the world, and you go to, let's say you go to the market or you go to the store, and you ask somebody who works there. Now, how do you know they work there? Because they have, like, a name tag and a uniform or something else to show that they work there, or they're standing in front of the checkout machine, right? So there's a clue. It's not like you go up to strangers and ask questions. But let's say you go to the store, right? You're just a customer, you want to buy something, and you ask somebody who works there, can you help me, or excuse me, I need some help, or however culturally is appropriate. And the person acts like you are the biggest hassle, that you have wasted their time. And sometimes they just look at you like, how dare you ask them for help? Sometimes this happened to me recently. I was at a store, and the people who worked there, again, I figured that out because they had the same outfit or name tag or whatever on, and they were standing in front of the work machinery, and I was asking for help, and they were socializing with each other. I know that because I was listening to them, and they were actually talking about, it was actually gossip. It was interesting, right? Like one of them was telling the other one that she had multiple names, and then the other one person was like, "Well, how do you have so many names?" And she's like, "Well, I've been married." And the other lady was like, "Really? When were you? I didn't know you were married." She was like, "Well, it was when I was like 18." But I don't even know where he is. I can't even divorce him. So I just have all his extra name and I use it sometimes. It was actually, like I said, gossipy, kind of interesting. Here's the problem. I was trying to buy something. So when I was, so when I, I was sort of was standing, I was standing there, not sort of, I really was standing there. And then I was, trying to get their attention. And then finally I spoke up a little bit. "Excuse me." They looked at me like, "How dare I?" They looked at me like if I was at a dinner party and they were having a really fun conversation and I was interrupting them rudely, like it's just some weird loser. And I, the only thing was I was at their business. Now I understand that maybe they weren't the owners. I'm going to probably take a guess that they might not have been. You usually don't see the people who own the business doing that, although it does happen. But it happens less frequently because the people who own the business usually have a really clear understanding. I need money, and someone is here to give me money. My job is to make it easy for someone to give me money. Usually, although like I said, there are many instances where the business owners themselves don't see this, and then their business fails. You must make it easy for people to work with you. What people? All of them. So, yeah, your boss. Yeah. So with your boss, you're not going to get into that discussion. "Well, that's not part of my job. It's not fair that you asked me to do this. I saw that you didn't even ask, Raj. Raj could do it. Why are you asking me?" All of that, not easy. Your coworker peers, right? "I don't understand why you're so lazy. I mean, I'm the one that does everything around here." Ugh. Not making it easy. And guess who else do you need to be easy to work with? All of the other people. Vendors, customers, clients, just the random general public. What if I wasn't even there to give that business money? But what if I was trying to ask for directions or something? And the people were really mean to me, right? They didn't make it easy for me to work with them. And because I went in there and I was just asking for directions, and finally when I asked for directions, they were like, directions? Even though I wasn't even intending to spend money there. Now I'm angry or I'm hurt that they were so mean and rude to me. And I probably am going to go out and I'm going to be an ambassador. They talk about this in marketing all the time. And by they, who? Marketing experts. And of course, I teach this. I teach in my business courses in marketing and these types of things. They talk about this idea of brand ambassador. And it's what it sounds like. You're someone who understands the brand, right? And you're going to go out and you're going to be someone who represents it, and usually in a positive way. So a brand ambassador is usually somebody who goes on social media and says, "Oh, this is so awesome. I went to the store and it's great," or "Check this out," or whatever. They're a brand ambassador. They tell their friends, their family. People say to them, "Hey, where did you get those shoes?" "Oh, I got them over there." They're a brand ambassador. See? All right. Even if I just went in a store and I was going to ask directions, I wasn't actually going to give them money anyway. But if they're mean to me, now I'm going to be a brand ambassador, but I'm a negative brand ambassador, right? I'm out there and I'm going to tell anybody I can. I went over to that place and asked for those people for directions, and I wasn't going to buy anything, but they were so mean to me, I wouldn't go there anyway. And believe it or not, every single penny counts. Let's go back a little bit. I said earlier the number one complaint people usually have about money is they don't have enough. Now, sometimes people say they have too much, which we talk about often in our satisfaction saturation series, and it's something that I, certainly share some of the programs. You do get on the other side of the spectrum where you just have so much stuff and you realize, wait a minute, I have too many options. Why do I have 4 cars and 7 houses? I'm one person, right? It's like too much. We talk about that. We have programs about that. So that's satisfaction saturation series. In the financial fierceness series, we're usually talking about people's focus on trying to get to the point where they have more options, right? They want more money. If you want money, then you have to understand that money is money. So if it's a penny, a nickel, a dime, a half penny, I don't care. In any denomination, if you tell people go away and don't give me money and you make it hard for them to give you money, eventually, like immediately, it adds up. Money is money. So you're thinking, well, who cares? I was rude to that person. They weren't going to buy anything anyway. Yeah, okay. So they went, they told 10 other people they know not to ever go to that place. Now, how much money are you out? Why do this? And when I said earlier that the obstacles people put between themselves and money, I don't get it. I really don't. We discuss in so many programs. So much of life, you don't even have to be the best at anything. And I'm not exaggerating. First, because it's very difficult to do that. Even the person who was the Olympic gold medalist was only that Olympic gold medalist for a certain amount of time, right? Those are snapshots in time. They had other events where they weren't the best. The challenge is that if you make it hard for people to give you money, then guess what? It's hard for people to give you money. And guess who is the one that suffers the consequence? It's not the people that you made it hard to give money to, you. Because, yeah, you gave them an inconvenience, but they're going to give the money to somebody else, right? So someone else got the money. And the person who really wants to buy the thing or the service, they will find a place to give it. It just won't be where you are. So what you did is you took the money and you not only didn't give it to yourself, you gave it to somebody else. And then people complain about, I don't have enough money. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, because you make it so hard for people to work with you. So back again to the employee setting, right? How many places have I been and studied and read about that create the seeds of their own destruction? Because you make it hard for somebody to give you money. And on my daily life, how many times do I go out in just regular daily life and I'm going to buy something at a store? I'm going to, and the people make it so hard for me. They don't ask me if I need any help. Now, again, some cultures, they're different expectations culturally, but in the States and a lot of other parts of the world, if you go somewhere and you have money, your expectation is the people are going to talk to you with respect, and they're going to talk to you at all. We've talked about this in other programs where I specifically have talked about big ticket purchases, like buying a house, or I've gone to look at, a builder, and a builder will go out and build sort of model houses. That's what they're called, model homes, and they're showing off different floor plans. I've gone to places like that when I'm ready to go start looking to buy my new house, and people won't even ask me if I need any help that work there. They ignore me. Okay, well, then you know what? I'm not going to buy, not only am I not going to buy literally like this model home here, I'm not going to buy anything from this builder, and I'm going to go tell all of my friends what happened to me. And that's exactly what's happened. I have done this. So when you're in an employee situation, you want to be easy to work with. Now, some people, when I do corporate education training programs, they'll say to me, "Oh, you just want us to just kiss up to people," and sort of what they slang, meaning that I just sort of, that you fake are nice to your boss, and you're fake nice to your coworker, and you're fake nice to your customer or client. Okay, well, here's the thing. I actually don't think that being fake is a good idea. And we talk about authenticity, and we talk about the whole thing of the joyful art of business is that you feel good about what you're doing. If you're faking something, usually you're not feeling good because it's fake, right? That means it's not real. So you usually aren't actually, pleased to help somebody, and you're not even actually pleased to be at your job. So I would argue that the fake behavioral decision is not going to be effective because it's going to conflict with the joyful art of business. But I guess if you're going to ask me if having you be fake to somebody versus having you be rude or ignore them or create conflict with them, which might be a better outcome, well, of course, the better outcome to you is to fake it. Now, it's not going to help you emotionally and psychologically. It's going to hurt you, which is why it's not going to work long term. But is that better than just being hostile to people? Again, this whole thing with I hear all the time, from people when I do mentoring, when I do one-on-one work with clients, and they'll say, oh, or even just friends, actually not so much my friends, because I usually don't like to hang out with people who are really negative, but I certainly have experienced it over my life, right? Where you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh, my boss, they're an idiot, and I can't believe how dumb the people are I work with, and all of this. I actually did a program. We have a show, if you haven't accessed it, and it talks about the wonderful benefits of working with incompetent people, right? I think it's subtitled "Idiots Are Awesome," right? And I'm not being facetious at all. I'm serious. So maybe they're not gifted geniuses. I mean, who is? You can find a way If it's something you're interested in and that you enjoy, to craft a work situation that is really enjoyable. So the people aren't that bright. And when I usually hear the whining about how dumb everybody is and how stupid they all are and how ridiculous and all this kind of stuff, I'll ask a couple of questions. One, how long have you been there? And if someone, oh, I've been there 9 years. Okay. Has it been like that the whole time? Yeah, it's just gotten worse. All right. Well, if you started something 9 years ago and it was horrible, and you decided to stay there for 9 years and it's still horrible, who's responsible for that? You are. My analogy would be, it would be like me deciding, you know, I'm gonna go, date somebody, and I'm dating them, and all I do is complain. Oh, they're so dumb. I can't believe how they're so ridiculous and they're inconsiderate, and I can't believe them. And all I do is complain. And if somebody says, well, how long you been dating them? And I said, well, I've been dating them, 19 years. Well, were they like this when you met them? Yeah, yeah, it was just like this then. Well, then who's responsible? And so when I say be easy to work with or be broke, what I'm saying, and I've been giving examples throughout this program, is look, if you make it hard for me to give you money, then that's your choice. And hey, I've said this in other programs and I'll continue to say this all the time. One of the greatest advantages in life is that other people self destruct and self sabotage because it does allow those of us like myself. I'm never, I never have been, and I mean, it's possible, but I suspect I probably never will be the greatest, most awesome number one in the universe at anything. And I don't even think about that or care. I don't need to be. In fact, there are lots of people I've met and known, throughout my life who are much more intelligent or talented or whatever in some area, but they self-sabotage. And while there's somewhere out there, someone out there who's so much, you know, uh, uh, better skilled than I am, but they're making it hard for people to work with them. "Oh, I can't believe this. I can't understand this. This is stupid." Then great, I'll get the work that they pushed away. I gave a speech relatively recently, and so that's part of my business, right? One of my businesses I've had for, at the time of this program, probably about 15 years. And so when I give these keynote speeches and I often have worked with and do work with some of the leading agencies in the world. And so we've done programs where I talk about the speaking business if you're interested in this at all. And they're agents, and what they do is they help find and negotiate business deals for you. And so I was doing a speech relatively recently with one of my agencies, and they were giving me the contract, and we were talking, and basically in the contract I saw some language, and it was sort of language saying how, whatever however long the speech was, I don't remember. I had to, guarantee in the contract that I would be there the whole time on, on stage performing. And I'm thinking, well, so I asked my agent. This is an agent I've worked with for years, right? So I said, because this is sort of new language, I hadn't seen it. So what's this about? Because of course my suspicion as a lawyer is that the only reason you add contract terms like that is because you had a situation where it happened, right? Sure enough, turns out that there are people even in the business, which like I said, I have other programs where I talk about this at length. I love all the businesses I do. I really, honestly, if I didn't love them, I wouldn't do them, right? If I didn't love this show, I wouldn't do it. If I didn't love the speaking and keynote events, I wouldn't do them. If I didn't love teaching, I wouldn't do it. If I didn't love practicing law, I wouldn't do it. And that's just because why? But can you imagine in any job? I really, honestly, I can't. In any profession, actually, that someone would just, you'd have to try to force somebody to like do their job, that they walk off before they were supposed to. But yeah, you and I know this. You and I know this. People do this all the time. I just can't believe these people. They're so ridiculous, or I hate this, or that boss, or that customers, or that audience, or those people, or those students, or that administration. I mean, hey. If you choose to make it difficult to work with you, then you're going to pay a financial consequence. Now, I know people will say to me, because they have, when I've discussed this in other settings and corporate training programs, and they've said, well, that's not true. I know so-and-so, and they're the vice president of this place, and they're horrible. They're horrible to work with. Yeah, right. My point isn't, here's the deal. Whatever it is they have done, they're doing it in spite of the fact they're difficult to work with, not because of. And they have lost money. And if I had the time and the resources to go conduct research, I would be able to show you that, yeah. Maybe they made it to vice president, but maybe they would have been CEO if they weren't too difficult to work with, right? And usually, what I'll see is someone who thinks that they have someone who is entitled, who has an entitlement mentality, will sort of think, well, they can't do anything to me here, so I'll be as difficult as I want to. And often that's nepotism, right? So maybe they're really difficult, but the founder of the company is their grandfather, so they feel like I can be as difficult as I want to because my grandfather's not going to do anything to me. Sometimes that's true, which is awful for business, and we have tons of programs where I talk about this. It destroys them. But many times, and I know many business owners and many friends who they intentionally told their children, their adult children, hey, you're not going to destroy my, this organization that I may have founded or another family member may have founded. No. So you're going to have to earn it. And if you don't comport yourself as a professional, you're out of here. And they follow through with that. So here's my bottom line on this program. One, it was really an unusual show because, like I said, we started off thinking, oh, this is a Joyful Art of Business show. It really wasn't, though, because what I was focusing on when I was creating the content was the consequence of you being hard to work with, being difficult, right? I don't want to do that. It's not part of my job. Why do you always bother me? I can't believe this. Ugh. It doesn't even have to be the words. It could just be the facial expressions, the body language, right? You turn your back on the customer. You roll your eyes, at your boss when they turn around, all this kind of stuff. Why? Here's the deal. If you don't want to do that, then you need to immediately work on your plan. And we talk about this in so many programs. And it's what I do sometimes when I work with people one-on-one and mentoring and coaching. You need to create your plan to go. We did a show at the early part of this show, where we did a program. Should I stay or should I go? We've done other programs, right? When do I let it go? Right? And you need to understand that if it's not working for you, there's nothing wrong with that. I've been in tons of situations in life where I've realized this isn't working. That's a healthy, really good thing. You're getting that. That's what the information you're collecting from your environment. Your data is telling you, hey, this isn't working. So what that means is then we need to make a plan to make the change to make it work by either changing something or changing something. So we're going to change our attitude. People always use that. Although that's actually the most difficult thing to do, right? It's often easier to just go work to a different place. It might be that you really do despise that, the building. It just makes you uncomfortable and you don't like the commute. If you go to a different building, you'll be fine. But you need to change. If you sit there and complain, which is one of the things that leads to you being difficult and making it hard for people to give you money, then you're the one that suffers. Not only do you suffer from these other things about staying in a situation you're unhappy, which is incredibly destructive, financially you're destroying yourself. If you want to attain and sustain your financial independence, which is where you get to a point where whatever your bills are, you already have the money for that. Coming in from your investments, you've got it diversified in different, some places it's some money that you can just lay your hand on right now. It's what we call liquid. Other ways there might be something you'd have to sell, but you have it. So you're more relaxed. You're not worried. You're going to be worried about other stuff. Everybody worries about something. But you're not going to be caught in those really desperate financial situations where people really honestly make horrible decisions for their health, for their career, for their self-esteem, because you're just operating out of desperation. That won't happen when you're on the financial fierceness path, because we don't let that happen. That's not going to happen. And we do a lot of different things we talk about, right? From not spending money on stuff we can't afford, which is almost everything, to understanding the power of long-term planning. But the thing this show is crucial. Make it easy for somebody to give you money. Be easy to work with or be broke. You decide. And the funny thing is, whenever and I haven't done this in a really long time, but over a decade ago, I would go to places and I'd meet the people who were unhappy, right? The miserable, mean people, easily, because they would start telling me. I literally am not exaggerating. I'd walk into some place that I'm going to be doing some corporate education programs for, and people would immediately say to me, oh, you're here for the meeting? I can't believe that. They're just making us go. Oh, I hate it. Real wow. Thank you for welcoming me to your building. That's not really awesome, but okay. Um, and they make it so hard on themselves. Yeah, you might think, I think that people who make it difficult think, oh, I'm showing them, right? I showed that coworker. I taught that silly customer. I showed my boss. The thing that you really did is you showed yourself that you don't care about yourself, and you certainly don't care about your money, and that you're not going to be able to attain and sustain at a maximum level your financial independence because you're making it really hard for me to give you money. Making it really hard. Now, are there demanding bosses, coworkers, clients, customers, students, administrators, friends, relatives? Yeah, that's life. If you want resources, economic, financial resources, you have to remove the barrier that prevents people from giving it to you. And you have to remember that if you make it hard for them to give you the money, they're just going to move on and give it to somebody else who may even be less competent, less skilled. They don't care because you wouldn't let them give it to you because you keep pushing the money away by being difficult and hard to work with. So this show is to make the argument why. Why you want to be easy to work with. It's in the title, right? Be easy to work with or be broke. That's my argument. And that's what I've tried to lay the foundation. It's a different question, of course, of how are you easy? What's the difference in the behavior? What do you need to do to be easy to work with? And those are shows that we talk about in our different other programs. Um, so I do encourage you to continue to, or reach out. Let me know. Ask me. Send me an email. Come to our website. Let me do anything that I can individually or through our resources here at our company to help you come up with the plan. And like I said, we'll continue to do the how, right? So that's your communication, your organization, a lot of the skills that you're going to deploy in your professional endeavors. But if you're going to keep being difficult to work with, then the only person you really hurt is you. And I want to make it really clear. This is taking money out of your pocket. So you can't complain about money and then be difficult to work with because you're the one, that's part of the reason why you don't have the money you want. So much in life is that as humans, I hate to have to leave a place where it might be a better skilled business. But if they make it hard because they're rude to me, they don't treat me with respect, then I'll have to go to the second best qualified, even if they were the first best qualified, because they made it so hard for me. And you do this every day. How do you talk to people? And people sometimes say, well, this fakeness. Here's the thing. When you really are doing work you enjoy, that's the first part we talk about constantly in programs. You're not faking this. And the reason that it's easy for people and you know these people, some people despise them, right? Oh, I know who you're talking about. They're always just so smiley. They're so easy to get along with. Sure, I'll do it. Part of the reason that it's easy for someone to be easy to work with is they probably orient themselves mentally before they go to their work environment and remember how much they enjoy their financial independence. That's part of what they're so joyful about. So it's not fake. It's totally real. At a very core basic level, you're working, and we're talking obviously financial independence, so we're talking your for-profit work. You're working and you're getting money. That's a good thing. And if you think about that, oh, this person is trying to help me get my money. Oh, yeah. How can I help you? How can I be of service? Of course. But we forget that. And people get all caught up in the details that are meaningless. Oh, well, I can't stand the way they dress, or that customer is always asking for me. Are you serious? That's like such a wonderful thing. If you would just strip all of those silly details away and remember the core issue is money they're trying to give you. It's often much easier to reorient yourself in terms of your mental state to remember, oh, well, that's right. That is money they're trying to give me. Oh, how can I help you? What do you need? Oh, I'd love to. And you mean it because you would love to get that money. This may sound crass and it may sound really, simplistic, but in a basic sense, it's actually really helpful for people. And I've worked with people for, like I said, around the world for many, many, many years. And if you sort of look at it differently, you'll often be surprised at what the power that can give in helping people focus on what's really important. So I have enjoyed having you today, being part of this program. As always, I ask you to go by CourtneyAnderson.com. I ask you to leave ratings or reviews on iTunes or Stitcher or Spreaker or Libsyn or wherever you're accessing our program around the world. I do ask you to visit our show sponsors on CourtneyAnderson.com and go make some purchases for goods and services that are worthwhile to you through our programs on our site. And reach out to me. Let me know what's going on. What are you thinking? What are show suggestions? What are ideas? We're continuing, like I said, to add new content on CourtneyAnderson.com, and we're going to be planning to roll out. Not going to be planning. We are planning. We're going to be rolling out additional, of course, these shows and the companion video television show, and we're going to be adding seminars and webinars and some courses. So I'm really excited and overwhelmed, but it's a delight and a joy for me to be of service, and hopefully the content permits you to do everything in your power to surpass your goals. So thank you again for joining me today.